Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Noodle Way and River City Puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behavior of a Cavoodle puppy. So if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to episode 67 of the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your host and your Cavoodle puppy coach. And in today's episode, I want to talk about one of the most common problems families have with new puppies and new Cavoodles, and that is barking. And how do we stop our puppy from barking in particular? Now, this is a great topic because it combines some of my favorite training philosophies, and it's a really great chance for me to help educate you on the reasons why puppies bark and the best and easiest strategies from stopping it from even happening in the first place. So let's just dive straight into this episode. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do enjoy it, make sure you hit subscribe, and then don't forget to turn on the little notification bell, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, just so you're notified every single time one of these episodes go live, because I don't want you to miss one. Okay, let's talk about barking for Cavoodles. The very first thing I think that we need to address is the different types of barking from our Cavoodles, because there is some barking that is absolutely okay, and there is some barking that we definitely don't want to stop. So when we look at the different types of barking, we have barking for attention. Now, when puppies or adult Cavoodles bark for attention, this is the type of barking that really can get on your nerves, because you walk around the house and your dog sits there or your puppy sits there and they bark at you. And usually if they're barking at you, they might then jump on you. And it's like this constant barking around the house. Whenever they want something, they bark. You're cooking dinner, they bark. You sit on the couch, they bark. You try to go outside, they bark. Whatever you do, the puppy barks. That barking gets very annoying. That barking is definitely something we could have avoided with the right training when we got our puppy, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the episode. The next kind of barking we have is barking as a result, usually, of some anxiety, some stress, or some excitement. And this is when a Cavoodle starts to learn that when they have an intense emotion, the way that they work through that emotion is by barking to calm themselves down. So the way that this plays out is you might be on a walk, your puppy sees a human and they haven't been socialized right, that human is riding a bike. Your puppy gets anxious and nervous, so your puppy barks. Or you're walking along with your puppy and your puppy sees another dog and they get excited and the dog gets closer. Or the dog walks further away, and either way, your puppy gets excited and frustrated, and so they bark at the dog. This is usually that sort of barking. Again, is something we definitely can avoid with the right training from when the puppies are young. And again, I'm going to talk about how we do that shortly. The next type of barking that I tend to see a lot of in Cavoodles, and just dogs in general, is more of an alert bark. This is the type of barking that we don't necessarily want to stop, because our dogs obviously have incredible hearing, an incredible sense of smell, and one of the best things about dogs is if something fishy is going on at your house, on your street, your dog will be able to sense it, hear it, smell it before you, and then they can alert you to whatever's happening. And this is particularly helpful if there is even an intruder, someone who is coming to steal from your house, your neighbor's house. If you have a dog, we want them to bark to let you know that someone is coming to your house late at night. That is a really good thing, and we don't want to stop that from our dog, because what we want when we are raising our cavoodles and our puppies, what we want to teach them is how to communicate with us. And we want to teach them the method of communication depending on what they're trying to say. So when they are trying to alert us of something and they go, hey mum, this doesn't feel right, this smells really bad, this smells like something bad is happening, this sounds a bit scary, we want them to bark to alert us of this. But when they're feeling a bit bored and when they want our attention, we don't necessarily want them to bark for that. I myself would much rather my dogs come and sit next to me at my feet, look up at me, and for that to be their way of asking me for attention. So when it comes to barking, managing barking, and stopping our cavoodles from barking, we have to first recognize all the different scenarios when a dog might bark. Then we have to go through these scenarios and identify which ones a bark is actually necessary in, like someone trying to break into your house. That's a great time for a dog to bark, versus a time when your dog could use a different method of communication to speak to us so that it's less annoying, like barking because they want their food and you're not getting their dinner ready quick enough. We don't want that. That's annoying. That is not good behavior from a dog. That is demanding behavior. We want our dog to be able to sit patiently while we prepare their dinner. So that's the first part of this episode, just having a bit of a discussion around different times that I see cavoodles barking, what it means, and whether or not it is a good thing they're barking, or something we really should be avoiding, working on, and taking as a cue that more training needs to be done. And I think that's a really important thing to note here. When our puppies are doing behaviors, if it's not a behavior that you personally like, if it's something you're wanting to avoid, say you're getting a puppy and you're like, I already know I don't want my dog to bark at me all day. If that's something that you know, then you really have to then think about what training you're doing with them. Because puppies, dogs, they're a different species to humans. They don't speak our language, and we have to put ourselves in their shoes. And for a dog, barking is a very, very natural behavior. That's how they communicate to their siblings, their dog mum. It's how they're going to try and communicate with us. That is natural. Every puppy is going to do it at some point or another. The good thing though, the thing that we can really, really take advantage of is barking in puppies tends to not start until they're a little bit older. They might do some play, growls and yaps when they're young, but barking purposely, that tends to be something they start to do. Usually I find from about 16 weeks of age, they can really start doing it purposely because they want to demand your attention. So if we know that barking is something that comes natural to dogs, and we know that barking is a response to the way that your dog is feeling, then if we do some specific, careful, intentional training before they're 16 weeks old, and we start to show them how to process those emotions and communicate to us without barking, we can avoid it altogether. That's amazing. And this is all about the development of a puppy's brain. If you're new to this podcast, I'm going to go through it because it's a really important concept to really wrap your head around. If you have already listened to a lot of episodes in this podcast, a reminder is always good, so I still encourage you to listen to this next little section. But I want to talk to you quite briefly. I go into much more detail in my Cavoodle Training Academy program for any families who actually want to train their cavoodle with me. But as a brief overview, let's just talk about where your puppy is at in terms of their learning and their development when they come home to you. So when you bring your puppy home, typically they're 8 weeks old, they are smack bang in the middle of something called their critical socialization period. Socialization obviously means showing our puppy the world and all the people, objects, sounds, vehicles, animals inside of it. But it also means helping them learn how to process their feelings and emotions in the different parts of our world. Now, when your puppy is in their critical socialization period, That goes from 3 to 12 weeks of age, roughly. And during this period of development, your puppy's brain is like a sponge. They absorb every single interaction and experience happening around them. And because they're experiencing all these things for the first time, they experience them, and however they felt when they're experiencing them is what their brain processes as the way to feel. So to put this into perspective, I'll do it very simply. Let's say you bring your puppy home and you have a shower, you wash your hair, you bring out the hair dryer. You put it on high heat, high speed, and you just turn it on, and your puppy's in your lap. And suddenly they jump and they shake and they run away because they've been scared by this loud machine that's blowing air, and it's really loud in their ears. That's your puppy's first experience with a hairdryer. And because your puppy is in this critical socialization period, their brain goes, okay, when we hear or when we see this object again, we are going to react with fear because it's scary. And so the next time your puppy goes near a hairdryer, suddenly they might bark at it because now they've been so scared of it. And when a puppy gets scared, when a puppy feels an intense emotion, they have an adrenaline rush, and that adrenaline rush causes them to try and calm themselves down in ways that are natural to a puppy, such as barking, chewing, digging, crying, and everything we label as naughty. And so when we are in our critical socialization period, when your puppy is in that period of development, we have to be so careful that every new experience your puppy has is actually positive. And we are actually teaching them that the world is safe and that they can be calm and relaxed in the world and not have these massive spikes of fear and anxiety or excitement or anything like that. That's where your puppy is at when you bring them home. It is a very, very crucial part of their development. And once it's over, that your puppy's brain composition, the way that they approach things, completely changes. So when they're in their critical socialization period, they're curious. They want to go and explore this weird flapping doggy door in front of them, and they're going to just put their head through it and walk through because they have no fear. They're not yet mature enough to actually reason with themselves and say, hey, that might hit me in the face. So they just walk through it, and we can make sure they have a positive first experience with that doggy door. They walk straight through it, and your puppy's doggy door trained. Or the opposite happens, and your puppy goes to explore the doggy door for the first time, and it does actually slam into their nose, and now they are scared of it for life. Now that's all happening in their critical socialization period. Once they leave their critical socialization period, if they haven't formed those positive relationships with all the different things in their life, they now, because they have left that critical socialization period, they now approach everything with hesitancy. So they lack the courage now, the confidence to explore things. They immediately are quite nervous around new things. And that is so much harder to shape and train these really positive experiences with our puppy when they're in that state of mind. All of this, and again, I go into it in more detail, explain it much more deeply in my Cavoodle Training Academy program, but all of this influences whether or not your puppy is going to be barking as they get older. It is going to influence whether your dog barks at every loud noise, at every person, at every dog, at every car, at every bird they see. Because what they are learning in that critical socialization period shapes their behavior for life. It is the most important stage of your puppy's development, and we have to go into it with an intentional plan. We can't go into it blindly because then you will unintentionally create negative experiences, and you'll also unintentionally teach your puppy to get really excited over dogs or really scared of dogs, and both of those really intense emotions leads to barking when they're older. So your job as a new puppy parent is to expose your puppy to all the new things in their life and actually help them regulate their emotions and actually calm themselves down without the chewing, the digging, the barking, and the crying. And if you do that, you have the most well-balanced, well-adjusted, emotionally regulated dog who can be calm and relaxed in your life, which means you can have visitors over and they go and greet them calmly. You can go on walks in public and your puppy is not barking at everything they see. It means you can go to sports games for your children and your puppy lies on the picnic rug beside you. It means you have flexibility and freedom with your puppy. But if we do the wrong type of training, or we just completely miss the socialization and the shaping of their behavior when they're young, then our puppy doesn't know how to manage their emotions. They haven't been socialized properly, they haven't been desensitized properly, and then they bark at everything. And they bark at you for attention, they demand your attention, they bark at everything they see and hear, and then you get restricted by your puppy. So if we want to talk about how do we stop our Cavoodle puppy from barking, we have to use a very proactive training approach. What I mean by that is barking is the thing we want to stop. We want to prevent the barking. But the things that cause a puppy to bark are so many different parts of their development. It's their socializing, it's their desensitizing, it's their behavior shaping, it's their training, it's the way you respond to your puppy, it's the way you guide them to feel their emotions. There are so many different facets of your puppy's emotional well-being and their exposure and training as a puppy that influences the amount of barking they do. So if stopping your puppy from barking is your goal, we need to make sure we're covering all bases when we're doing that early training with them so that they have that new communication method. Now, I mentioned before that for me, when I'm teaching my dogs and I'm training my dogs, I train them to come and sit at my feet if they want attention. This is something called manding. This is creating a new communication channel with our puppy. And I teach this to puppies from 4 weeks of age when I am breeding them. And if I don't breed them, they start it the day they come to my house. And such a core reason of this is if we don't teach this new method of communication, your puppy will bark at you for attention in the future because that's natural to them. We have to make sure that we are teaching our puppy how to talk to humans and get what they want in the way that we want them to ask. We have to do this because we can't expect our puppy to be silent all the time with no method of communicating with us. And if you have an older dog who hasn't learned all of this training foundations when they are young, and they bark for your attention and they bark at everyone they see, and then you constantly are yelling at them or hitting them or shouting at them to stop, you're taking away your puppy's voice without actually giving them another way to talk to you. That leads to a very hard relationship between you and your dog. It doesn't work out long term. It ruins a Cavoodle's confidence. They turn into an anxious wreck, and that actually makes their barking worse. And it's not their fault that it gets worse. It's how their body responds to anxiety and stress. So barking is a very common problem in dogs because they unfortunately don't have the right training when they are young. But I really want you to understand that we can do so much to help your dog not bark. And it's not to take away their voice. It's to say, hey, when you want my attention, you can come and sit by my feet and I'll give it to you. When we're out at the park and you want to go and see a dog, stay nice and relaxed and I'll take you over to them. But if someone's at our front door at midnight, please bark then. And we can teach our puppy all of this through the right training when they are young. And it is amazing when we do it because you should see how happy your Cavoodle gets when they can talk to you and communicate to you and ask for what they want, and we give it to them happily and joyfully without yelling at them to stop barking. Your relationship with your puppy is going to define your relationship with them for the next 15 years, and dogs are a really long commitment. And your Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle and never complicate it. And that means we have to teach them how to live with humans in our home and talk to us without barking at us. Because barking for our attention does get really draining. It gets very frustrating. It gets very annoying, and no one wants to live with that. So we just have to teach them another way to ask for our attention. And that is how we stop our Cavoodle from barking. So I hope this episode has been eye-opening. I really hope it is making sense. I really hope you are understanding how important that critical socialization period is for shaping your puppy's behavior and actually doing the right training with them. Training for your Cavoodle does not mean teaching them how to sit, stay, and lie down perfectly. That is mental enrichment. Training for your Cavoodle is teaching them how to manage and regulate their emotions in all the different areas of your lifestyle. Because if they can't regulate those emotions, when people come to your house, when you go out in public, you'll never have a well-behaved, easy dog. They will always restrict you. So your training is about behavior. The obedience training, where you teach them to sit, lie down, and stay, that's mental enrichment. Both are important to having a puppy, but we can't have one and not the other. We need to do both. And this is what I have put into my Cavoodle Training Academy program. So if you haven't heard of this program, it is a 4-week program to help you through that critical socialization period with your puppy. So from the day you bring them home, you follow 4 weeks of daily training schedules that I have created personally with my own Cavoodle puppies. It's exactly what I do with them for the first 4 weeks together. And for each activity, I have a video I have filmed with me and my puppy Joey showing you what to do. And this program is all about shaping behavior in your Cavoodle, teaching them how to communicate with us, teaching them how to regulate their emotion, and teaching them how to feel safe, calm, relaxed, and secure in our world. It's really, really important that we do this with our Cavoodle puppies. They are a naturally very anxious breed, and if we don't do the early work with them, they can have separation anxiety, social anxiety, loud noise anxiety, startle anxiety, so much anxiety, and it will absolutely wreck them. They'll be so stressed all the time, and it'll really wreck you because you'll be exhausted and frustrated from all the anxiety and the barking and the crying and the digging and the chewing your dog does. So if you are getting a Cavoodle puppy, I'd love to welcome you into my Cavoodle Training Academy. The link is in the show notes to learn all there is to know about the program. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at hello@oodleway.co, and I can let you know if it's the right program for you. Even if your puppy is older than 8 weeks, even if they're 15 or 16 weeks, yes, they'll be out of their critical socialization period, but it's even more important that you do the right training now to help them form those positive experiences. So you can still join the program. However, best time to join is obviously when you first get your puppy. And you'll also, for the 4 weeks of training, you do get a weekly access to a group Q&A with me. So you can literally come online, we'll be face to face, and you can tell me any issues you're having with your Cavoodle, and I can give you personalized guidance through what to do with your puppy. And there's also a really detailed Cavoodle preparation module that everyone must listen to when they are getting a Cavoodle, because it is going to tell you what behaviors to expect, how to manage and shape those behaviors, and also how to set up the house, toilet train, crate train, and what to buy, when to do the vaccinations, what parasite control to get, what food to get, all those details. It is the only training program you need, and so I'd love to see you in there. Again, the link is in the show notes. If you have questions, send me an email. But I think that's about it for this week's episode. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you next week for another episode in the podcast. This has been your Cavoodle coach, Tiana Karamayas. I'll see you later. Bye.